Hey everybody, welcome back. Black mold is one of the worst things that can possibly happen to a homeowner. It is the worst because once it gets in somewhere, it's going to spread. And you just got to start tearing stuff down, essentially. And insurance isn't going to cover it, and it is an absolute nightmare. So we got some videos here. I think they're pretty good. Let's have a look at them.
Just wanted to point something out to people that are buying houses right now. If your house is newly built and it is built during the rainy season, most likely they are using particle board or OSB instead of actual plywood. It's getting drenched, and then they cover it, put a roof on it, they put drywall up, and before you know it, you've got black mold in your house that you have never lived in.
Further on in the video, he explains about using a dehumidifier in the house for the first 6 months, which I feel like you shouldn't have to do that if you're buying a new construction. You're buying new construction for the peace of mind. You're buying new construction for the perceived quality. You're not buying new construction to have to worry about fixing things a few months down the road. So, just my 2 cents. Follow for more.
Yeah, he's absolutely right. The price tag on all these homes is so steep that you think that you should be able to just move in and never have to worry about anything, at least for a decade, a few years. But imagine moving into a place and just within a couple weeks, within a couple months, you have that nice earthy smell. And that's kind of the telltale sign of black mold, honestly. And that's one of the big problems with a lot of these subdevelopments that everyone wants to move out to. They're usually a little bit on the outskirts of town or suburbs, or even in the countryside. They'll put up a place that's like 100, 200 homes. And while that used to take years to complete, it doesn't take that long anymore because they just rush through these jobs. And I'm not going to lie and say that like I'm a construction guy. I used to dig ditches and I did excavation. I ran some heavy machinery. But other than that, like I've never really put anything together, but I've been a homeowner and I've been in the military. And I can tell you right now that anybody out here who's been in the military say, something about black mold, because the barracks in some places are absolutely rife with it. And it's not a little bit. And it can start messing with your breathing. It can affect everything. But I can't imagine spending $600,000-$700,000 on a new home and then have a black mold problem where we have to tear out all the drywall, end up with like $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 of repairs of something that you just started paying off on. The mortgages on that are so high as it is. I mean, people are just getting by. Now imagine you have a $20,000, $30,000 charge on top of that. Just take my house. I default. I foreclose. What am I supposed to do? Take out another loan to do the repairs? You can do that. But now that mortgage payment that you had is so much higher because that's going to have higher interest rates on it as well. So yeah, it's a real nightmare. And I mean, if you think you can refinance and get all these things together, it's not with a mortgage that new. There's just no way. These houses are pretty nice. They're probably like $400,000 or $500,000 homes. A nice area, nice and quiet, woods, real good scenery and all that. They'll put a $1-2 million house in the middle of the woods where it's raining all the time. They'll put in this great foundation, and then they just put sticks on top of it, and they just let it get soaked and wet. And, then that soaks into the wood. And he's right, they just throw drywall on top of it and call it a day. But there's consequences to that because that moisture is trapped. And there's anything about a house that any homeowner owns is that moisture is just like, moisture is a nightmare. Moisture can cause huge problems. So, yeah, the guy's spot on. You shouldn't have to deal with this when you just move into a house. Anyway, let's look at the next one. You can see these black spots, and that's really how it starts. Ooh. Yeah, that's a nightmare scenario, but that's what it is, and that's how it starts. You just have these kind of small, benign black marks, black spots on the wall. But behind that, right, in that crawl space, in that area behind it, I mean, it could just be black mold everywhere. And when they actually investigate, I mean, it can be an entire room, it can be an entire part of the house. It spreads super fast, but it's also something that you can be dealing with for years and you not actually know. It's just maybe a bit of a moldy smell when you walk in the house, but I've never actually seen anything. And then they start investigating. You're like, oh, I've been breathing this in. My kids have been breathing this in, you know, and there are serious consequences. There's serious health risks that come with growing up in a place with mold. I mean, your respiratory problem. I mean, it can kill you. I think I'm pretty sure it can actually kill you, but it causes major problems. But imagine having that where it's like all of a sudden, you know, you just see a little black spot. You're like, okay, maybe I have to get this piece of drywall removed. And now it's like I have my entire room, my bathroom, part of my kitchen, it's gone. It's just gone now. And and you hope it's not going to cost that much to fix, but deep down you know this is going to take your entire savings away. So it's a real shame. And there's really not much that you can do about it. I mean, you can have a home inspector come through and they can have their moisture sensors, but if it's been real dry or there's been a leak, but you know, they replace that section of drywall and just painted over it, there's really no way that even the moisture sensor can tell. And if you think you can actually go after somebody for this, I mean, good luck. When it comes to black mold, you're pretty much going to be on your own. That's why it is really the big nightmare for homeowners to deal with, because it can turn your dream, it can turn your life absolutely upside down, because it's not something you can put off. It's not something you can be like, I'll deal with this in a couple months. No, when you have black mold, you have to address it now, because it can cause such terrible health issues. But speaking of house inspectors, I saw this video and I really think it kind of speaks to it, because I personally cannot stand house inspectors. If you're using a VA loan, you have to get a home inspection. And I will say you can't trust them. You just can't trust them. I'm dealing with issues, obvious things. But yeah, let's see what this lady has to say.
Of course, TikTok, that you know that this is solely my opinion based off of my experience, and yeah, there you go. I'm not going to pick on insurance today. Nope, today the people on the chopping block are home inspectors. Guys, I don't give a shit if it's a brand new house. Get that bitch inspected. Get it inspected, because you have got the most cracker jackbox houses being built out here, and I am just going to tell you as a rule of thumb, if you see a nationwide home builder, don't buy from them. If you are in a neighborhood and you see that the same builder is building...
I hear this isn't just an American thing that's happening anymore. Some of the subscribers out in Australia said that just like in America, the housing prices are going crazy. But they're starting to build these really low quality homes that they're big, but they're just made of plastic and wood. It's real sad to hear.
20 houses at a time, you can guarantee the quality of those houses. And I don't care if that pisses anybody off. Y'all should know by now, if you follow me, that I don't care about pissing people off. It is what it is. So if you are buying even a brand new house out here, get that bitch inspected. Furthermore, make sure that you have an inspector that knows what he's doing. But here is your PCA, just like PSA of that, okay? Your home inspector is not a roofer. Your home inspector is not an HVAC technician. Your home inspector is not an electrician. There are still things that even if you get an overall home inspection, I'm going to need you to do your due diligence and actually get a licensed roofer out there to look at your roof. I'm going to need you to get a licensed HVAC tech to get out there and take a look at that. Because I'm telling you what right now, those are the things that when you move into that house and they were not properly looked at by somebody that does it day in and day out and they find issues, there's a big chance that you don't get to go back over that home inspector. You don't get to go after him, because he probably has somewhere in that fine writing that says that I am not a professional in these areas. You need to call a professional. Hopefully he told you to do that, but if he didn't do that, I'm telling you to do that right now. I don't care if your house is a month old, a year old, or 100 years old. Get a home inspection when you are buying that bad boy. You'll thank me.
She's absolutely correct. And this is from personal experience. This is something that we've been dealing with this new home. It is from 1939. The bones of it are great, but it was recently remodeled and I've had some serious issues with it. And we bought this house. I mean, we came back and saw it, but the entire process, we were still in Turkey doing our wedding stuff, getting all that taken care of. So before we came here, we chose this house, and we've been looking for a while, but we really enjoy it. But there are some obvious issues. And because I used a VA loan, I had to have a home inspection done. And even though this guy was reputable, even though this guy, had great reviews, I mean, there was some obvious stuff that he just looked over. And it's stuff that I'm having to deal with and I'm having to pay money for. And that shouldn't be the case because, like I said, this is a house that's remodeled this year or last year. The roof is brand new. The roof's been on for probably 7-8 months. And as somebody who used to work on roofs a lot, clearly as a 6'4", 290-pound, snow monkey, I'm not a roofer, right? But I used to do inspections. I used to work for an insurance company. It doesn't matter. But after going up there, once we had the leak in the back of the house, I mean, there's parts of that roof, especially where it comes over the edge, where it's just like, number one, how did this pass code? But in an area like this, you actually don't need to take out a work permit if you own the property outright. So they don't have to have inspectors come out to check work. That's why it's so important that if you're in a place where, you don't need permitting, if you own the property and it's something like this where I guess they flipped it, you need to go beyond your due diligence. Like you said, a home inspector isn't going to be enough because it's not just the roof. Our entire plumbing system, and that's not going to be cheap. Thankfully, like a lot of it I can do by myself with my brother, who's like master tradesman, jack of all trades, thankfully. And he knows some people, so you get the family and friends discount. And some of the plumbing in there doesn't even meet grade. It's like banned to do stuff like that. And like I said, this is something that I have to deal with that I shouldn't have to, that you shouldn't have to. And thankfully, so I think she's absolutely right. Yeah, you can get a home inspector, but that's expensive, right? Why spend, $400, $500, $600 on having a home inspector come out when you can just call like a plumber, an electrician, a really, really good, well-known general contractor that maybe you've worked with, maybe your friends or family have worked with, and just have him come out and be like, hey, can you look things over? I'm thinking about buying this property. Can you come with me when we check it out? You can look things over. You may have to pay a little bit, but it's not going to be as much as a home inspector is. And they're going to be honest with you, and they actually know their stuff because you have to actually qualify to become a general contractor. You're not just some idiot with a clipboard who just walks through saying, oh, this is good, this is good, this is good. Home inspections are a joke. And the thing is, even when you come across these problems, you can't even go after the home inspector. You're on your own now. So like I said, these are things that I have to fix. And thankfully, they're not that bad. But as far as black mold goes, in this area, it is a problem. So having moisture in my house on the back end of that addition is a little bit of a nightmare because I know it can be an issue because I've seen black mold before, and I've worked in enough houses where I've seen during construction, black mold actually happen. In mid-construction, things need to get pulled apart and replaced. So it's a lot more common than people think that it is, and it can happen to anybody. So if you have any moisture, if you notice there's a leak, if there's something wrong, get it addressed before it turns into a huge issue. I mean, we saw from that person in that second video, their house is done, it's destroyed. It's gonna cost so much money, and it looks like a bit of an older house, so the repair cost to get that back to what it should be, it might be as much as that house is actually worth, depending on where it's at. Or if you still have a mortgage, say like, I thought I was safe buying an older house. I got a mortgage for $200,000-$300,000. I passed all the home inspections. I thought everything was fine. Now, is the lender that you use, are they going to approve some kind of like FHA loan, to repair, or do you even qualify for that? Because like I said, black mold is a boogeyman, and it can ruin everything you're doing. It's a real shame. But anyway, black mold, have you ever had to deal with it before? Any experiences? If you've been in the military and you've dealt with black mold before, post something about it, because we all went through it. And it's insane that like so many service members had to deal with that. But and who knows, maybe it's gonna be like the Camp Lejeune water. We're all gonna get paid one day somehow. But yeah, it's crazy. Anyway, thanks for stopping by. If you like this kind of content, like and subscribe, give comments and all that stuff. But hey, you guys have a good one.